Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you can hear me well. Since we're going to talk about...
Okay.
Good afternoon, Ukraine.
Okay. If you can hear us, please raise your hand. You cannot. Okay, can you hear now? Still not?
No, they can. They
can,
raise their hand
okay.
because they can.
One for the money.
Okay, so since we're going to talk about global things, about exiting out from the local market, we're going to speak English. And today we have a fantastic panel, so I briefly tell who is here on this stage at this table. First is Бас Годska, who is associated with the project La Moda, but he's better known as a digital Dutch deal maker. Then Vlad Voskresensky, who is a co-founder of a well-known project Invisible CRM, and also Alesha Дженко, who is the founder and the CEO of HTT Pool. First, I would like each of my speakers to briefly spend 2-3 minutes talking about their own projects and mention about the global nature or international nature of these projects. Please, who wants to start? Bas, maybe you.
Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Бас Godska. I have started my career in Australia, although I'm Dutch, with e-commerce in the autographs environment for 3.5 years. Then I went to Europe back to be in the online travel business. Lastminute.com, I was the e-commerce and marketing director. After that, I did online gaming for sportingbet.com for a year in London. After that, a few years, ebookers, which is part of orbit.com, online travel. Was European marketing director for the 13 countries that ebookers was present in. After that, I set up my own company, Gogol, which is a consulting firm to help companies realize their e-business goals. And now I'm involved with, after that I did Ozon.ru, Russian internet company. I was the deputy CEO for 1.5 years in Moscow. And after that, I became part of an incubator that has invested in Groupon and in eBay Europe and in Zalando, which is now launching lamoda.ru, which is a shoe shop in Russia. So that's in a nutshell what I'm busy with.
Thank you, Bas. Vlad, a few words about your
Sure,
project.
yeah. I'm Vlad Voskresensky. I'm CEO of Invisible CRM. As I've just said on our previous panel, the main business we do, we bridge enterprise environments with personal environments. The problem is global, that's why we are global. We work with international vendors. Major ISVs, software ISVs are located in North America and in Western Europe, that's why we are there. We actually didn't have any Ukrainian clients until probably last year. So, I mean, if we were talking about globalization and how global we are, we've started from North America. I mean, it's how we were born. We were global at the beginning.
Okay, so my name is Alesha Дженко and I'm the founder and CEO of HTT Pool. So HTT Pool is the leading Central and Eastern European online and mobile full service provider, focusing on emerging markets. We started now expanding to Asia, Latin America. We have partnerships across Middle East and North Africa and all the developing markets as well. And basically, besides HTT Pool, have been also expanding with digital agency, IT shop, and some other companies and online media everywhere from the States, where I lived for a couple of years, to Japan. We also started the first company in 2001.
Wonderful. Thank you, gentlemen. To kickstart our discussion, since we have many aspiring entrepreneurs here in the audience, I would like to sort of ask the following question. Yesterday in Moscow, we had a good speaker. His name is Richard Kivel. He's president of MIT Enterprise Forum and international entrepreneur. He has companies from Singapore to Boston. And we asked him about what are the most important things for startup to be global. And he mentioned the following. I just name a few of them. So one, you as entrepreneur should be very good at networking. Know right people at each international location where you want to operate. Second is partnerships. Select right partners, very important. And the third one is always forget what is the third one, but it's about people. Never hire B players, always hire A players. In other words, hire not the people that you have to teach, but hire people that you can learn from. So I would like to ask my speakers to comment on this and maybe share their own stories about what is the most important when you going global.
Okay. Well, I think we can make the session a lot shorter because those three elements are really hitting the nail on the head. But what's intriguing is that those three elements seem not just to be relevant for international, but also for local. Isn't it just a part of good entrepreneurship to have good staff, to have good networking skills, and choose your partners rightly? So it's interesting if we could also try to, with my fellow panel members, to dig deeper into the differences between not the common denominators for local and international, but see what exactly, in addition to those three elements, we would need to be successful expanding internationally. But that's a suggestion.
But can you suggest a couple of things that should come next after networking, HR, and
let's do a collective brainstorm about that. I can synchronize or compare a few things where I'd say that you need to have an extremely open mind when you want to be driving your business internationally, because you have language barriers, you have culture barriers, entrepreneurial barriers. You would need to break through those to make sure that you are being perceived and accepted outside your own local environment by partners and competitors even, without the risk that you kind of block yourself unnecessarily. I myself am Dutch, and Holland is a very small country. Everybody learns a lot of languages and make sure that we always put people in other countries a little bit kind of higher than ourselves, and then we kind of see what can we learn from the other environments. And maybe I'm a bit biased here, but I believe that the Dutch are pretty good at international expansion. So making it a little bit more specific for Ukraine or for Russia or Eastern Europe, I'd say that the language itself is very often an issue. I see people, I speak Russian, I see people that in Russian can tell me absolutely brilliant stories, and then when it comes to telling it to a business partner in America, the story gets different. And then afterwards I ask, so why is it that you did a very different presentation to your potential partners? Well, it was because I didn't know all the words, but I didn't want to show that. So then maybe better get a good interpreter, and also almost a social interpreter that would say, wait a second, you are now going too much into detail, let's focus on this element, or something like that. So that would be my addition to the three very valid points of the man yesterday, and maybe my panel members have something to say about that.
I would agree with Bas, by the way. Those three reasons you've named, Dmitry, for me it seems like it's for any business. I cannot imagine any business successful without those three things, even if it's local or very local, very, very local. It should be there. I mean, my personal, not secrets, but recommendations to go global would be, first of all, you should never ever think local. You should always start from thinking global. If the idea you have, if the business you're trying to build can be successful globally, it can be successful locally as well. Just try to build it global, think about the whole world. You'll find some niche where it's the best fit. Maybe it's not your country, it doesn't really matter. I can tell you the example of a social network company called Friendster.com. They were founded way before Facebook was even born. And LinkedIn was a couple of months old when they were already successful. They have started from North America. They were very, widespread in Bay Area and Silicon Valley. And then with time, it ended up that the majority of their users are at Philippines. And right now, 90% of their revenue is driven from Philippines. So they are global in their understanding. They never thought this. They were just building a social network which can be used by anyone in this world. And they have found their niche in Philippines at the end of the day. which is low competition for them, and they really own that market. So that is a perfect example. Another thing, I would totally agree with Bas that ability to adopt yourself for cultural difference is important. US guys are very good at that just because their country is very diverse. I mean, that's the way how the country is built. So for them it's much easier to talk with other nationalities, you know, be injected into different cultures, etc. For us it's a little bit harder, though you should train yourself to do not react on cultural differences. It doesn't really matter how the guy is looking, I mean, how the guy looks like, how the guy behaves. It does matter what the guy does and what's in it for you. Can you partner with this? Can you work with this? If you're able to do this, it's a very good chance that you can be global. And I'm talking about the language at all, I think it's just must. It's like, if you ask me, can you play water polo? I do assume that you know how to swim. Right? So, I mean, language is not even the question. If you cannot speak, I'm sorry, it's a very low chance you can ever be global. You better go to language school and learn how to speak. So.
Thank you, Vlad. I think I have a good question for you, but first let Alesha also answer.
So what I think is we should look at it from a bigger perspective, or actually, when we think of expansion, we're thinking first of all, when should we expand? And I think that a very important criteria to where to expand is to expand when you have a very strong, solid local basis. Only when you have a proven model, when you have a proven technology, competitive solution, and also when you have a strong local market share, you can then think of expanding further. So expansion becomes one of the viable or actually appealing growth strategies only at that point. The next question is where, which markets to cover. And here you have many options. Either go global immediately, either trying to go regionally first, or trying to address market by market based on let's say market saturation, development, market potential, whatever criteria you have, and then assess how you're going to go global at all if you decide to do it. And then the third question is how you're going to do it. One is through partnerships, which we addressed already. One is setting up your own offices, but then you can also think about just licensing your technology, or just having representation offices, or having partners around. So you have to always understand how to do it, and also in terms of entry point, you can be very creative. You can do partial acquisitions. You can set up joint venture partnership with local partners that actually have access to local talent or local resources you require. So these are all the questions how to do it, and then it comes to the questions how to be successful locally in terms of implementation. And in that case, of course, you have to have top talent, I mean, top management, and or partners that have access to all the resources or partners you need, and the local market, and understand the local market correctly. And then also the question is how you're going to finance all of this. I mean, all things together actually respond or help you to define what would be the best approach in terms of your internationalization.